Hello, Wild Wisdom Warriors. Hello, YouTube. Hello, world out there. This is Lily Silva. Thank you for joining me. This is my journal, and today is May 1st, which is means different thing to many different people. So thank you so much for joining me. So it's VINO Friday. May 1st, VINO Friday. It's a celebration. Actually, for me, growing up, this is a celebration day. So I'm here celebrating. So that's why it's going to be VINO Friday. And this is, in a way, a celebration of returning of the spring. Hey, Caesar Zeus apparently wants to say hi. So hi, everyone, from Caesar Zeus. So, so a little bit busy in our house today. So you guys, I'm gonna have to have this little short one today. So probably not questions. I may not be doing questions today. But I wanted to talk today about this sort of what does it mean? What does it mean for me? Like knowing this, what is this May 1st, what it has always meant for me. And so I wanted just a little bit to talk about that and just kind of, celebrate the spring and the returning of the energy of the life force of the earth. So this is kind of, in a way, related to what I was talking about last time about the dance ceremony, because this is, in fact, was a huge dance ceremony in the community to celebrate the return of the spring, or to celebrate the life force, because for the winter, the life force of earth retreats sort of back. Okay. And so I kind of wanted to talk about the resurrection of the energies, and also how that spring and renewed spirit, and how we can bring that into our spiritual sort of return and resurrection of the bloodline, because this is about the bloodline. Okay. The resurrection within us and all of that. And this is why the last time I was talking about that this is the time to do the cleanse of the blood, because you renew your blood. This is the perfect timing, because the earth energies support us in whatever we're doing. And so this is in a way to talk from the perspective of how to align with earth energy, and just in the same way, like I talked about last time about that 95% of our DNA, right? Earth as the being, as a physical being, has the same DNA structure, sort of, because we're physically manifested, like I talked about in the past, right? With our mineral structure and our water and all of that, the same way as Earth. And so, and the energies and the way it operates, it kind of goes in the same way. And this is what this whole celebration is all about. It's not some kind of pagan, God and all of that and what it was turned into, but really it is about the life force. And so this is why I do want to talk about the restoration of the bloodline, because I've touched a lot on that, what it has to do with the ancestral codes and how all of that operates, and so how our DNA is actually so much more than what we know. I don't know what else to say. It's very sort of scientific in a way, everything, because that's what spirit is. So here's to all of you, my dear shamans from around the world. Oh my God, Anna, hi, Darcy, Santo, Sunshine, More, John, thank you so much. Hello, aloha, Teresa, Ramus, Yagua, Noraf, hola, and Caesar said hola. She knows a lot very well. And Savannah, hello. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I really am. I'm really grateful for all of you being here. So, and so I feel like going into what we are now kind of trying to unfold and consciously connect the dots on how do we align our individual cycles, natural cycles of unfoldment, of soul unfoldment here, with earth cycles. And then in a way, then by aligning ourselves with earth cycles, we'll know and we'll fit into that cycle of how do we fit in the totality or in the collective of human consciousness. And so this is ultimately help us to find ourselves in the totality in a way, by restoring our own unique, authentic, ancestral codes, meaning activating that 95% of junk DNA, as they call it in the world. Hi, Karen. Okay, as they used to call it in the old world. I am just going to call from now on old timeline that is dying, old world. We're going into new world. Okay, so here's to new and restored, and the energy is that the life force of earth had returned, and so we that's the celebration of that, meaning so and so like in where I grew up, it was a lot of celebration with a lot of dances and ritual with dances, and there's certain things that were added, all kinds of cultural layers on it and all of that. And some would say it's pagan and all of that. So, however you celebrate this day, just celebrate your way, each and every one of you. So here I'm just gonna, raise this a glass of wine to all of you, and to celebration and to the return and the resurrection of this life force. Okay, you guys. So it's ultimately has a lot to do. So with the Trinity, the Holy Trinity of wellness. This has, cheers, Karen. This has a lot to do with that wellness and foundation of wellness that I talked about. And so the restoration and the resurrection, it's actually just, when it depends how you look. It's if you look from within and how everything is within, and eternity is within. And so to connect to your eternal self, right, you got to go within. And so once you go within, and then the restoration, just like within our body, then the restoration. And before we can move on to so much into body wellness, I wanted to talk about the restoration of this emotional body that we need to sort of restore. And through that, we restore our sort of ancestral entanglement. Untangling, or I guess, there is quantum entanglement through ancestral DNA. And so all of that is connected into the body. So it's very scientific, because just like spirit is. So, okay, Santa, but you do have a question. Let me see what you have question about. Do you feel we need to resolve our activation within the context of our current family bloodline if we feel that way? How does the concept of connecting with our ancestors really work? this is in a way your question, the two questions, they're kind of, in a way connected. And again, like restoration and resurrection is very similar, and that's why I kind of wanted to give the two different words and how different it is, because the ancestral codes, those are your, like I talk about, blood codes, okay, but yet there also, it's your DNA is just different physics, okay, of that sort of. So now it's not any sort of how to say that, you don't approach then your ancestors as something that, oh, it's like, spirits or possession, or it's outside of you. You see this as running through you, so their spirit is within you, through you, because then you've accepted the eternity, and so you've accepted everything, and then comes to the body. And through how, like I was talking about connecting with our ancestors, how does it really work? For me, it's just listening to my inner thing and going through my own and tracing back my own bloodline, starting from my own and going back and tracing back and going in and tracing it back, with doing it myself, and ask and doing the tracing myself. And this is how you sort of in return, and sort of where your branches are kind of going in your reality, and where you rooted to, because branches and roots, right? And so look at it as a tree, as a tree. When you're out there, right, you're out here, now you have roots, so you got to go in, and your roots are there. And so this is how, but it's not so much about identity, Santo, because we're looking at this from a spiritual perspective. So you can like say, okay, my ancestors, I'm not looking at even at the tribal sort of level. I'm looking from all of this sort of more of a quantum approach. I'm going to use that word because with that, at least you understand that it involves quantum mechanics to understand how that sort of DNA even operates. I don't have that scientific language, but all of that is entangled. And so this is the entanglement. And now within your body, like I said, and what comes in is the first, and then just like within our body, the first is that immune system is what, it's the building blocks of all of your body. And so this comes down to restoring your immune system, and this is in a way we've talked about, to how through healing your ancestral trauma in particular, and doing it yourself. Like in the past, I mentioned that when you heal trauma, you end that cycle of abuse for all of your bloodline, past and future. Okay, and so this is why it was so important to end the cycle of abuse for this in this timeline, so then the timeline can be repaired or restored to its original blueprint, like I said in the past. And this is why we individually have to restore our own ancestral trauma-based reality. We have to repair all of that, because that reality, even though it was trauma based, it was a real reality. We experienced it as a living beings. So the restoration process, or as I say, restructuring on that level, it's like it's not so much visible, it's more on that level, on the quantum mechanics level. I don't know if I'm making any sense. um AJ, hi. You said we will go into a frequency that NPCs can't access. That's really good way of saying it. because dissolve. And so this is what the space dusting within your own field, like I said, it's dissolving, and through dissolving your own sort of things, you're repairing your own timeline, and you're repairing it, and how it is affecting you is by repairing your ancestral. It's repairing your timeline, your bloodline, your time. It's repairing your timeline, because there was a rip through what? Murder is what creates rip in timelines. Okay. You guys, there's a right, Electra, you said we are the ancestors, right? They are, like I said, there are, and this is what that I said, that 95% of your junk DNA, that's your ancestors. And they're there with you. They're standing behind you, like I said, and they're dancing in there, because you have to move forward, because you have to move. We are catapulting. This is a quantum leap, sort of. So this is why it's very difficult to explain how this quantum leap manifests, but it manifests on that level, on that, um, completely new, sort of, it feels like a new energy. There's nothing old, yet it's original. So it's just repaired and renewed, just like spring, right? Just like spring, and the leaves come back to life, okay, and everything. And so that timeline, just like bloodline, repairs, and life force can now, through the repaired human DNA now, and you can call that active DNA, that 90, it's here. It didn't go anywhere. So we have access to it. And so that's what it is. Hi, Danielle. And then absolutely, Teresa. And you said then we can unlock memory and the codes, and basically the memory can come back, and the memory can come back in many different ways, and can come back to you in the dream state. You can have a dream that it seems like real. You can experience a memory of a lifetime that will show you something that will connect the memory, and will unlock a whole timelines and lifetimes and all of that stuff. Okay, Santu, you said there's so many healing modalities that claim to do exactly that. Holographic kinetics is one of them, but there's many other ones that are to do that. But the reason for that is because infection. They have to infect to siphon that energy. So just like, there's so much more involved in all of those healing modalities. Like I said, healing modalities is just a cover for seeding people with entities. Actually, that's it. It's just what it is. They can scream all they want, all day, all night, 24/7, 365 a year. Santo, they can all have their belief systems up and running, and they believe in them, and they will. You know how many people, even in holographic kinetics, I went to that course. I went to the course because how do you learn about something, and you just gotta go and peek and take a look. So I went peeking. I wanted to peek, so I wanted to see what's up. So I took the course. And so as I did, and then so all of that stuff. So I paid all the big bucks, and everything. But I needed to see what's up, what's up there. And so, yeah. So when people are seated with those beliefs, they will protect them at at every cause, and they will tell you everything and anything, um, because they've accepted it, and so to them it's their reality. And so one thing I found, what really hit me the hardest immediately in that course is I took holographic kinetic course. Well, at first, immediately, the greed just hits you so hard. And then that, the hungry, you want to call that whatever that is, a winged serpent. Okay, you can call it that, whatever it is, but um it's hungry, and that's the channel that it operates through, and that's how it's organizes its feeding channels and all of that stuff. The thing is nasty, and so it like, I threw up in my mouth immediately, like 3 seconds into coming into contact with that energy. That's all I need to know after that, but the rest is just details, a little glorious details that I absolutely enjoy to watch all the details after that. But first 3 seconds, there I've known everything Santo I needed to know. I've seen it all. I don't have time to tell you guys about it. But since I'm telling the stories of my experience with some of those installers over there, or programmers as I called them last time, I kind of got knocked off of what I was talking about, and I was telling the story about what happened at Ashayana's Dean workshop when I went there, and what happened there and all of that stuff. And I didn't finish the story of like the beach uh, feeding fast, how it ended up. I didn't finish telling you guys the story. So I guess, I don't know. So I will tell you the end of that story right now, since the experiences came up, because it was kind of weird that I didn't finish telling you guys. I kind of went on to something else. Hi, Sandra. Hello, Pressure. Yes, Santo, that is a huge wake-up call. Many healing modalities are activities for seeding entities to harvest energy. Absolutely. That's what it is. 99.9% of the time, the group type of thing, and the things that have to be done sort of in the requires access in a way. That's a big no-no. Immediately a big no-no. So yes. So that's immediately what it is. But to be honest with you, this is what it is. And many people that do that, and they do not comprehend themselves, like I said. And this is why I said this is why it's so important to realize how human consciousness, when it's enslaved, and how it acts, and how incredibly, when whatever, what was it, is it that Stockholm syndrome, is that what it's called, or that whatever it is, it's just like the people that people that have accepted abuse, and or either were raised that way, in a way that they don't know anything but abuse or something. Then once they accept that, to them that becomes normal. Okay, and it becomes very difficult to people that have not accepted that to understand or to comprehend, well, not to comprehend, or to kind of, that these people, they've accepted this as that's normal. Okay, and this is why normalizing certain things have been a plan for a very long time, right? And so what happens is that they do get the power as master slaves, but yet they get the powers only given to them as how to control the slaves and how to operate the slave. They don't ever get the powers to how take over the owner and become free, or how to attain freedom, right? They don't have that knowledge, they don't have that ability. Okay, so this is why they offer you a healing modality that will involve you first believing what? That something is wrong with you. And so they are quietly slip that belief in you that you need energy help. You need your chakras removed. Adyotika vaciles. Huh? That vampire wants that chakras. They want it. Right? Django. I'm gonna stab my own slaves. I'm gonna kill my own slaves. I'm gonna feed on my own slaves. I'm gonna make their life miserable. Feeding um their masters, because the slave masters feeding their masters. They're serving their masters because they all have masters that they've accepted their power, and they may call those masters whatever it is. They may call them either way, but if that power didn't come from within, your house is built on the sand. So that's where those master slaves, like in the movie Django, exactly what happens. They receive their very own karma, and it's a very sad situation, but we have a very difficult time understanding that. And people that only experience slavery, that's what happens. So then, right, Reiki gets interference and opens, right, it completely opens you up for invasion. Basically, that's what they do. They just open you up, and basically that's it. Yeah, and they're pulling, and then the master of the puppets pulling the strings, right? And they think they're doing that on the independent, that they do all that because that's just, because they themselves have the belief systems. They truly believe that they're doing the right thing. Like that uh, character in movie Django, the slave master, Samuel Jackson character. He truly, truly believed that he needs to keep his slaves, and he needed to tell them what to do, how to do it, and all of that stuff, because there was no other way for him. He didn't know any other way. Привет, Confurious. So, absolutely. And so, this is what, in a way, once you free yourself, you free your ancestors. You free them within your own self. And this is why you have an ability and capability to end it for all. With you. And so this is why what happens is, once you realize all of that nonsense, all of those people are, it's like, how could they really, what happens? Because you now accessing your own power. So now you know the self, you know your power. So now you can see that, oh, that's slavery, but there is now freedom of expression now, right? Because like in that movie Django, right? He didn't even think about reaching freedom for freedom. or or that he can just teach his slaves how to attain freedom. That's just impossible. So that's why going to those healers that are not healed themselves. I was a little harsh on Steve Richardson last time. Called his beer belly. What did I call it? Green serpent. But anyway, so you understand what I'm saying? And furious. That's funny. You said you're not doing questions, but you have questions anyway. What wild animal would you be if you had a chance to be? I know exactly what it that. I don't know if cougar, black jaguar is my spirit animal. I've had a journey, shamanic journeys, and I've met sort of and there's so many other connections. So I actually have experience being a jaguar, black jaguar type of animal. So so you're pretty close. And it's completely black from what I can tell you. So I don't know. So that's there. Jaguar, yeah. Everything jaguar for me. So so yeah, I have jaguar everywhere. There's one on the floor. So yeah, because the intelligence of those cats is just it's mind-boggling. How do totem animals affect us? Again, it's like I talk about, it's just like it's a belief system. And so when you know and you've experienced that, and especially in your dream time or in your shamanic journeys, and because now you tapping into that, what I in the beginning, what I said, now we're moving into this understanding of what is this collective DNA and how do we tap into Earth's 95% field of DNA that is junk DNA. And this is basically what it is. This is the animals and all of that stuff. So these are all part of your, just like in Egypt, when you see all of their symbology and all of that stuff, and how of that they explain of the collective DNA for human consciousness, and how it involves in animals, and this is what you come into, and the animals, what they hold in here, and all of that stuff, and the intelligence, right? And so um in a way, it's kind of like a respect to that intelligence, and that reminding you that you if you once you activate this eternity within, like I said, you have access to that collective or that field that I talk about, that current or that psychic field, because that's what DNA is psychic field. So it's those psychic vibrations that I talked about. A lost journal. Journeying, yes, Teresa, journeying, and the thing is that I've accessed that sort of animal um, totem type of thing, and so for me, it's the black jaguar is prominent animal, and so I do have like everywhere. uh, so this is pretty much kind of so yeah. Anyway, Okay, so I wanted to finish the story about Ashayana Dean's workshop. So, what I was talking about the circle, what happened in the circle? I didn't finish to telling you how the feeding ceremony would end and what would happen to those people that actually contribute their life force to this feeding. Okay, Santo, you have a totem monkey? Oh, that's awesome. But anyway, so what happens in those circles and those feeding ceremonies when they do those type of thing? And I've in the past I talked about what happens at those meetings at the desert that Wilcock and Project Scamalot organizes, Project Scamalot. And all of those stuff, and those are technology testing operations, and all of that strictly Club Edicts testing humanity. They just think they have the right to. But anyway, but in here it's a little bit different. It's seeding you with entities. It's the black goo collective entities. So that's why it has requires a lot of group. So that in the same way, what they do, what Scamalot Productions do. They do the same thing. They're seeding with that collective consciousness, with that lost, dead consciousness, as I call it in the past. Okay. So it is a feeding ceremony in a way. It is siphoning a life force of and then at the same time, because it requires, and this is what I say, how they kind of piggyback, because it's a parasitic energy, so it wants to piggyback. So what happens is, it's almost like when you seed something, right, you got to water it, right? So what happens in those workshops that people like Ashayana Dean do is what happens is that, like, at what she does, she makes all the people stand in the water. Okay, so they seed the energy. Okay, and she does it through her thing, and everybody have to imagine this, da da da, and she takes them through, and she slips in because everybody's in this trance state in a way, and so she's just programming through. So she's seeding the entities and seeding that collective, right? But the people that they picked in the beginning of the workshop that had the most life force, that the ones that it takes sometimes a few people to put in the center of the circle. What is their purpose? They're put in there to be like this water or this energy that then they are drained from, and then the people on the outside that are being seated with the entities, they feel that energy from them. But what's happening, but they believe that that's coming from guardians, that's an activation from guardians, but it's actually a life force that's being drained from someone who's standing in the circle, in the center of the circle. Right, parasites hatching. The full moon. Right. Yes, 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 yes. And so what would happen, Teresa? Thank you. That was awesome. So the seeding would, so right, and so what would happen is then the people that would be in those circles, first of all, they would be used. You can never be in the circle twice. They will never put the same person in there because it takes so much of their life force, because there's so many people, right? That are just got seated. So it takes so much of their life force. Some of those people are coming to near death. They're so drained. One lady told me personally that she was so sick and she felt like she was about to die for 2 weeks after workshop. She couldn't feel her body. She was that sick. Everything hurt, she said. Everything hurt. Oh my God, I disappeared? Anna, did I disappear? Oh, okay, you guys, I don't know if I'm still here or not. Oh, it's okay, Jose. Hi, Jose. Okay. So anyway, so I want to finish that telling you what happens at those feeding ceremonies. Okay. So anyway, so this is what happens. This is what happens. And then that individual testified that they felt completely drained of their life force, their energy, everything. And they felt like they had nothing but death left. Okay. After standing in Ashayana's Dean center circle, receiving a DNA activation from guardians. And so this is what I'm talking about, that DNA that you have access to within your own field. This is what they feed on. As soon as you believe that it's them, right? But this is how they do it. So I'm kind of showing you how they do it. And so those people in the center usually will feel very sick. But the people on that been seated, they'll feel a surge of energy. They'll feel like something really happened to set that belief system, right? So now, boom, they're seated because they felt something. They felt a force go through them. And especially as they're standing in the water, it's coming and they're holding the hand and they feel coming and moving through them. They feel it. That's what happens. So this is what happened when I was there, and the thing was coming and through the bullet thing and all of that. But this is, you guys, how goofy I am. So I'm holding the hands. There's a lot of people in this line, all standing in the water, receiving this DNA activation, right? Through this circle thing. Yeah, outside the circle, unknowingly, Jose, they are feeding on the victim and thinking, and the guardians doing their feeding feast. But listen to this. I'm holding this hand and I'm almost the last person. There's just a few other people here, and then that's it. Out here at this wing, I'm at like way out at the end. I'm just watching from almost end of it, but I'm still like few people in, and that's it. So that as the wave coming to you, and I see what they're doing, what they're having, I'm like, what? And my hand drops into the water. I'm like, what the hell is this? But listen to this, but I like trust myself to like, okay, I need to stop to look at this thing. And as I'm looking at this, and I'm realizing consciously as I'm processing in this consciously, because it's like I'm consciously seeing everything on energetic level. So it's very intense. But this is what my body does. I start laughing. I drop my hands into the water and I start laughing hysterically. And this is no with guardians. You have to be really serious when they're sending that, because that's interrupts. You can't, no, oh my God, how dare did you interrupt Guardian's DNA activation. So all 400 people looking at me, and I'm laughing. And all I could do is laugh. Can you imagine that, you guys, at our workshop? So I screwed up Guardian's activations. So that was my experience. Anyway, so um oh my God, Teresa, you said I had my life force sucked out in minutes from parasitic vampires just camping in my energy field. Yeah, just coming into your energy field. Yeah, and then they can, and sometimes, and this is what happens. This is why it's so important. Like I said, Teresa, is to clear all your ancestral stuff, because a lot of times this is where the hooks are, and this is how they are able to come in. And so, yeah. Okay. Darcy. You talk about laughing in the church. I know. It's so fun. I should have been embarrassed so much, and I was in a way embarrassed, because I was like, I was watching all these horrific things, first of all, and I was so surprised why. But my higher self found it funny, and I just let it go. People started shushing at me so badly. And it only made me laugh more hysterically when they started shushing me. When everybody started shushing me, it was even turned into worse. Anyway, okay, you guys, this is so once we sort of allow this. Hi, Diane. When we allow this sort of, when we accept our ancestors, that they're running through us, and then when we pick up that sword, and when we know that they suffered, because there is not, through the history now, into external world, the history, and in your intuition that they suffer, and now all that, you pick up your sword and you become the warrior of truth. And that's basically what activates your sort of, as I said, bloodline. And this is how you restore, is you restore your own sort of past, because they suffer, like I said, enough of this invasion, of this spiritual oppression. We've suffered enough. Haven't we been burned at the stake enough? Does that need to continue? No. So this is, in a way, what we by doing this right now together, what we're doing is we're ending that cycle. And like I said, we're setting a foundation. By doing it together now, no matter what corners of the earth we're at, we now understand that it's not about just physical. There is the spiritual, the tribal, there is the animal spirits. There is so much more. There's 95% more of earth field, genetic field, that we don't consciously, we haven't even tapped into. And so this is where all of this is the field that this reality is operates on. And so through that, through restoring our own selves, we now, having that knowledge and having attaining this wisdom and accepting yourself as the shaman, then you accept the responsibility in aligning your own bloodline, or clearing your ancestral trauma, and healing, and then stepping now as the individual, empowered individual. Now, as what I said, warrior, you step in for all of your past ancestors, for your past and your future, meaning your children, your grandchildren, and all of your bloodline that's going to go on into the future. Now, of course, you stand in as a warrior because you now know yourself. And so now you can step into this wellness. And so this is what I'm saying. And now we are stepping into this. How do we together build a foundation of wellness, which is mind, body, and soul operating as spirit, the great spirit in human form? How do we build foundation for that reality for us together? And that's basically what we're stepping into. And this is why it is a restoration, because this is what originally we meant to be as humanity, as human consciousness. So it's a consciousness restoration. So, like I talked about this a lot in the past, that there was a lot of invasion, infiltration. And now we come to understand how to move up, restored, renew, because we're in new age. And so this is where the restoration and the resurrection of this junk DNA is what, what's been sort of infiltrated by so much of what I talked about, the programming and all of the techno spirituality and the God program and the God programs, apostles out there, and all the many different forms of that um, infiltration that has taken place. Well, there's so many different layers to it, and that infiltration and invasion is in many different forms, and it's in spiritual form. So when we wanted to build the foundation for the wellness, we can, like I said, and this is what that Holy Trinity is. Then is when you yourself is active with it as that great spirit in human form, as the creator being in human form. And so, and this is then you become that foundation. And then now the only thing we need to do is do it together. And sort of, so then the foundation comes all together, sort of, in a way. I don't know how else to explain, but this is why I'm kind of talking about all of this, you guys here. So I hope today's subject kind of was helpful for you. I don't know if I made much sense. Okay. Hi, Yagua. You talk about the experience. Okay. Beautiful, Linda. You said I forgive my ancestors. One time, and immediately felt a pure white energy start in my feet and run through my body, up through my head. I have also thanked them. That's beautiful, because, hi, Amy, that is a gratitude, and sort of it brings you to acceptance, because once you thank them, now you've accepted whatever, and so forgiveness and all of that stuff, and being grateful for all of their experiences and all of their trauma that they been through, so then you can be where you are. And so, and I know in my last journal I talk about that being a huge responsibility, but in a way, that responsibility also is to the degree that you accept that responsibility is the degree that you're accepting your own freedom. So is it worth it for your freedom? Of course it is. So that's why, um, It's so important to align and restore that ancestral line, restore it within all of your fields. And that's what then will give you a foundation, an emotional foundation to restore the body. Because you need to build an emotional support for your body, right? And that's through by creating now and or returning or restoring your original, or coming back to wholeness, as some might say it. Okay. And so this is ultimately what we're talking about, because wellness is bringing in us, or is what wellness is up being whole. And so this is what wholeness many people call, being whole. I mean, being full and complete, it as being one creator being in human form. And so this is basically, ultimately, we together as humanity restore how we restore collective field. Absolutely, Santo. And likewise, to the degree that we don't accept responsibility, we do not have freedom. We do not attain freedom. And this is where that program steps in, because it is the anti-freedom, right? Ultimately, the program of savior. It's ultimately an anti-freedom program. That's what it is. So savior program is Django. All right. Absolutely. Hint, hint. But we are living in an interesting time. And we got to understand that when we're talking about energy, Santo, when we're talking about energy, we have to think about not disappearing energy and even space dusting. It is still going to go through a process, and if you do it emotionally and process and do a transmute through emotional body, that's going to come through your body as dissolving. You will feel some emotions dissolving, and and so that's transmutation, transformation. So there is no saving. It's just a path of that restoration. As many like but I don't like to use those, because so many belief structures attached to those, like when people talk about alchemy, the mastery of alchemy. This is the restoration and resurrection process, actually. Right. It's very limited, very limited. Absolutely. Plus, I have that few different languages, and then it is what it is. I've got apparently a lot of restoration to do within my physical thing, a lot of thing, and it just unbelievable how I forgot to tell you the end of the story of that ritual that I've experienced with Ashayanadin. I can't believe it. I just forgot to tell you the ending. um, anyway, all right, everyone. It's 58 minutes. I thank you, everyone, so much. Looks like you guys had an amazing conversation there again. Thank you so much for joining each and every one of you on this Friday, on this VINO Friday. I will be talking more about this, you guys. I'm just talking now, but let's celebrate the return. I just feel like this. I feel this energy, like I feel like this current, like floodgates. It's just going to be so beautiful, so strong, because it's so clear now. I just feel the presence of this rejuvenated, revived energy of the humanity and our consciousness and what we're going to go through. It's going to be beautiful. And so you all celebrate, dance today, celebrate this day, because this is the return, the celebration of return. So like this video. I thank you so much for liking this videos, you guys. I will return next week, and until then, that day, you all stay wild out there and dance, dance, and dance. Love you all.